and welcome to the Playground Experience. We got here several co-hosts here. We got our own Kathy D, April Williams, and Stephanie. Yay! So Stephanie is going to be in the playground. I was about to say the clubhouse. Are we moving up? We're going to have another place
Yeah,
to
you
go.
can do a clubhouse. Yeah.
We're in the
Or we've
clubhouse
joined
now. We
Mickey
the
Mouse, so I
elevator,
don't know
y'all.
which.
Yeah.
Yes.
We didn't elevate. We don't go in the playground no more. That's child's play. We done did so much work now. We in the clubhouse.
Yeah. You can actually do it too.
Right, yeah, that is true. That is true. I did think about that, and we have to talk about that later. That might be new energy. But anyway, back on track of what I was saying, folks. Again, so since this is mental health awareness, it came to myself and Kathy D. We was like, you know what? Stephanie needs to be on here, especially with all these energies that are going on. We got these eclipses going on, a lot of deep and heavy feeling. You know what made me really think about this mental and Stephanie to be on here was is it Naomi Judd? Did I say it the right one? It's not, gonna get it mixed up. And about her passing and how she had just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul, beautiful outside, beautiful inside. She's gorgeous. I always thought that she was. And the dynamic in the relationship between her daughter and her, it kind of remind me of me and mom. Kind of like we're together, you know, we have that togetherness, but then again, there's a little kind of undertow of things going on too as well. And you know, she just took her life. And then I thought I knew that's probably what had happened, that she had committed suicide. I knew that. But I didn't know that she had did it by infliction of gun, that she had, it was self-inflicted wound by usage of a gun. And to say, just like what her daughter said, for it to get to that point, that shows how tragic and how serious, she used a better word, that the whole situation was, that she felt that she had to end it with that. And so a lot of times, I know I listen to James Van Prague, and he always talks about when people pass over and go on the other side like that, you know, they look back and they do the life review and they say, oh my God, it might not have been that serious. Maybe I could have looked at it now and looking at it from a different perspective, or this perspective, things aren't that serious. It's really no of me saying I feel trapped. There's no way out. And I think a lot of times when we're thinking about in our mental health or things that get us, especially in the shadows that we're working with, or those dark night of the soul elements or situations, that we feel like it's literally, it's no way out. And I've been in that situation of being a daughter of a parent that when they're really seriously depressed and having that feeling, and how hopeless that you feel. But at the same time, you know, there is always solutions. There's always this darkest before the dawn. And, you know, if we could just kind of just hold on and see another perspective and just really see there is a way out, that maybe that way isn't the way in which we should take. Um, the mental things has such a hold, and that's my overall thing, is that it has such a hold on it. It's just all mental. We can't see under either, in any situations, other ways of being able to see solutions or the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's kind of, you know, that's what made me think about, right, for twin flames, like what's going on, or light workers, what is going on right now with us mentally, and how we can maybe help to shed some light, and saying that it's not, you know, like I'm never going to be with the twin, you know, those things are, it's just not going to happen, or I'm not going to be able to get that job. It looks like every time it's always something bad. My family's generationally like this. You know, you've heard so much of the gamuts, and I know we have, is we're dealing with clients that looping that they get stuck in, and not being able to, or I think I found my way out by using this new method or trick, or spiritually, and then it finds, like, you know, one little thing happens to them that's negative, and they're right back to step one again. It's like, okay, here we go with the negative Nelly, the negative self-talk, you know, those things. And so a lot of times, again, I know we're talking about the spiritual, but then we have to understand some of those tricks, or not the tricks or the traits or strategies, in which you can be able to use to mentally get you out of that rut as well. So That just came to mind to me about that. I know about the energies, but the energies right now, I would say is that's the number one thing. Is like some of us is nothing going on, and we like to go back to that way of that negative thinking to kind of get us out of, or using those old addictions or things to get us out of that, because we're like it's nothing going on, so evidently I must be doing something wrong. And so that's what some of us, twins are just thinking over the gamut of where they are. So
Yeah, and that was one of the things kind of Stephanie and I talked about this morning was, we've I do more of the one-on-one, and she's definitely more on the clinical side of, the whole psychology and the twin flame and life coaching and, all of that good stuff. But I think the thing is we have to step into um the um idea of, we have to just start putting it out there. I'm looking forward to miracles today. Before we get into that rut, we've got to make being having a moment of gratitude every day, making up your mind on how you want your day to go is going to be what gets you through those really hard times, because you've got to make up your mind. And if you start it while you're feeling good and then continue on, but that's also where we have to listen to our intuition, because I know, I went through some trauma response stuff and this week, and I had half my brain going, it's fine, it's trauma response, and half still going, so we have to kind of let that kind of work out, let it have its little moment, but then go back to what we know is good. And Stephanie has just had wonderful accolades lately, just graduated. She's done amazing. And she is absolutely brilliant. And
Thank
and
you.
all of this going through as a twin, as a twin flame. And um, not doing the whole, well, I'm just going to sit here and wait. And that's what we've got to get out of. We got to move. We got to pick up and move. We've got to live our lives. We're not dead. We're not done. We have stuff we have to work on. And Stephanie has done absolutely just phenomenal with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Woo! Let me unmute myself so I can woo her. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, so Kathy and Auntie and April, y'all are really on point that the state that we in now, we just not twin flames. We're living in, well, we coming through a pandemic, and it has affected everybody's mental health. The thing about being a twin flame, that you're just not dealing with your stuff, you're dealing with somebody else's stuff. And that sometimes you don't know what your twin is going through. They can be suffering from stuff like depression and anxiety. So,
true.
like he was saying, it's good to have like your own coping skills and know what works for you, because that'll help you recognize what's going on with your twin. So, like, I'm the kind of person that like to read and listen to music, and if it's coming from my twin, some negative energy like depression, then that might not work for me. So at that point, I have to say, hey, let me talk to this situation. This is my twin. How can I help him heal this part of himself as well as myself and move forward? So that's the one thing about being a twin flame and having dealing with mental health at the same time.
Yeah, especially that, and it's kind of hard to gauge. Especially, I know maybe even people might be newbies on the journey, or even us that's in it for a while. You still have to learn how to kind of sit there and kind of like a person sitting in a seat, like the three bears. Okay, is this my energy? This kind of okay. This, no, let's almost like taking the sweater on, taking putting it on. Like, this is my energy. No, this ain't my energy. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no, this depression mine. No, I can't blame it on him this time. No, okay. And and you have those signs that you have to really fit into it and see where does it kind of like resonate. When you're talking about those negatives and those positives, how do you guys, are you able to recognize the difference between, okay, yeah, this is my depression. Nope, that's his depression. That ain't got nothing to do with me. How do you recognize it when it's your negative and when it's not yours?
So for me, honestly, I'm a high functioning anxiety person, and my twin has depression. So it comes in subtle, And I know when it comes in, my thoughts start to change. Like right now, you saying I have a lot of happy stuff going on. Well, my mind would start to filter to the negative stuff, like, oh, am I doing enough? Do I look okay? And then
Oh.
after a while, I'll be like, where's this coming from? Like, why am I feeling this when I wasn't feeling this like an hour ago? And then it hits me that maybe this is him. So what I do in those moments is I talk to him like he's sitting there, and I'm like, hey, now listen, we having a good day today. What is going on over here? So if I'm having this thought, so usually the thought is, I'm thinking about him and his karmic. So that means that he's thinking that I'm dating somebody else or I'm having fun outside of him. So I'll be like, listen here, I'm not thinking about that. I don't care about that. I'm enjoying my life. And sooner or later, that feeling like moves away. But that's what it is. It comes in real subtle. And I'll be like, what is this? Yeah. So I talk to him. It's like he's in there.
Okay. Kathy D, how are you able to kind of, just to kind of help other people to not understand when they can distinguish when those that dark or that feeling that dun 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 comes over them?
Yeah, it's definitely, you have to do a really quick evaluation of yourself, kind of like Stephanie was saying. You have to go through going, hey, I got all this great stuff going on. Why am I feeling like this? This isn't me, or anything like that. And you go through and you check it that way. And then I think with me being a Reiki master, I send Reiki. I call them in and I send Reiki. Once you get to a certain point, you also do a lot of transmuting, like together, because you've got to remember that sometimes their emotions become physical pain on you, and your emotions become physical pain on them. And so you then have to, have to stop and go, okay, is this just, emotional? Is this me? Or is this coming from somewhere else? Is this, and even at that point, you kind of have to scan the people around you. Is this coming from my children? Is this, coming from my students? Did I walk into Walmart and God knows what I just walked into? Being an empath, we always have to be careful of that. But I think in any situation, if we take the time to, one, know ourselves, trust our intuition, because once you've gotten that good bond with your intuition, or at least a trust. I can't say I've got that great bond yet where I can just let my intuition lead the way, because I'm a Capricorn and my brain goes, excuse me. No. But we, I think we just have to go into, and does this feel like me? Do I have anything that would be, causing this or trigger this? And that's something we've got to watch for, because we have a lot of triggers that have happened before the age of 3 that are not in our conscious mind, but subconscious. So there are things that could trigger us. They, the anxiety, and I know Stephanie knows, probably has a lot more on how to help with this, with her work. But there's so many things that still are kind of filtering through subconsciously. We've cleaned up our conscious coffee pot. Now we've got one of those old 1970s metal ones, that the church used to have with a little flip top thing, and the big, the big pot, that would hold all the big filter. Yeah, we've got those subconsciously.
Oh, damn.
That we were cleaning simultaneously, but they got all the little working parts in there that we totally forgot about. And that's, that's what's going on. So we've got to, really take some time, journal, or do, even doing, your, oh gosh, now I can't think of it. All right, Stephanie, you made yours on Canvas.
The vision board?
Vision board. Do a vision board. A lot of times that'll tell you a lot on what you're drawn to. So words, things like that. It's good, but it also kind of, sometimes it'll be like, well, why am I always drawn to red shoes? What is it about red shoes? And then I found out with mine, it was my favorite aunt always wore red heels. And so that was, as a small child, I guess, and then,
okay.
Is she frozen? Okay.
I think
Well, that's
she's
a horrible
frozen.
That's a
All right,
horrible
take
place
it
to
away,
get frozen.
April. Take away your turn.
I don't even know how to say. Oh, look. Okay. All right. When she
Oh
comes back,
goodness.
we'll do it right. We'll put it back in. But yeah. So in terms of being able to establish what's yours and what somebody else's, ultimately the overlap of the energetics of everyone is we're all feeling the oneness as well as the single consciousness, right? So everyone's looking for this state of being comfortable in their own body, starting to feel and comfortable with uncomfortable emotions. And
Yes.
when we do that, we're extending deeper into the feminine, which is bringing up males having feminine in their principle and women having masculine in their principle. And so there's this process where you start to. I've gotten to this point where was quiet this whole time I was muted. I tell
I
you what,
know, I know, I know.
Kamakani, please stop. Please stop. Okay. So when you're stepping into finding out the overlap, he wants the attention. Okay, Kamakani, I'm on the show. If you're gonna keep doing that, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave and close the door. Do you want me to do that? Okay, be curious then. Okay, so when we're differentiating between ourselves and another human being, that's also a spiritual being, we actually get to learn and know ourselves. So spending time in isolation and spending time understanding the self really helps differentiate, which we mentioned. But there's also working through your processes, right? So when your twin is having some kind of turmoil or some kind of energetic upheaval, when you work through your own processes, it kind of puts them in a space that it's like forcing a tower moment, for lack of a better word. You're choosing an aha, they're choosing a tower, unless you're both stepping into ahas, right? You're both stepping into those layers. And it's coming to the surface. There's so much pressure. There's a whole diamond movement right now where people's kind of crystalline structures are starting to realign and readjust to what it is that their higher calling is, their mission is, letting go of things that no longer serve. And that's where the guidance, especially when you have had compound trauma, which I would say that a majority of people have experienced compound trauma. Now, if I'm saying it to the clinical definition, I don't think so, but I can say I don't know, but I do know that I haven't, right? So if that's the nature of it, because I was told, right? You're told you have compound trauma. I was like, well, that makes sense. I'm Black in America, right? So I'm like, what you gonna do? But accept what it is and step into it. And you don't have to be Black to have compound trauma. You can have compound trauma anyway. I mean, we're all
Past lives.
separated from the womb, right?
Yeah.
And a majority of us were born in places and ways that were not an ideal, peaceful way, right? So there's some trauma with that when you're going from this space of you have all of your needs met and everything is just comfortable and wonderful to suddenly it's dry and I'm thirsty and I have to do things with my body I didn't know were working. And a lot of us have been told to differentiate from our bodies, not recognize or acknowledge our own emotions, not even kind of look at ourselves, just kind of push it off and say just do so you can have and be the Joneses. And everybody knows that is not even the most popular last name in the United States. So we all don't get to be the Joneses.
April, I agree with you. That is so funny. I really like what you and Kathy D was saying, that you need to get to know yourself. And I think all of y'all always preach that stuff. And I think a lot of people overlook that part. I think it's a movie called Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts. And every guy she dated, she changed herself to meet that guy. Well, in your twin flame relationship, that really doesn't really work. The more you know yourself, the more you'll get to know the difference between yourself and your twin. So yes, doing the work, getting to know yourself, especially like what kind of eggs you like, so that when you go into trouble with your twin, you be like, oh, this is my stuff. I have anxiety and he has depression, and you know how to tackle it. But if you don't know your stuff from their stuff, it's just all one big pile of stuff. So yeah.
And when you're pushing for them to be their utmost self, right? If you're pushing your twin, you're pushing to trigger, right? And so if you are accepting and moving yourself forward, you're then pushing yourself open for vulnerability and actual reflection from not only yourself, but from another. And when it's so close to the heart, that's when it feels the scariest, I guess. And that's where people are the most intimidated by or resistant to. And so you kind of look around where you are in your placement, in your reality. Like, are you resisting what's being told to you? Are you resisting all the signs? If you're supposed to sit your butt down, right, and just sit there and meditate, and you're like, I refuse to meditate. So then Spirit suddenly says, your TV doesn't have no sound for no reason.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
This
well,
is
I should probably just go out, right? And then, like, for some reason, your car just won't start. And then you're like, well, if I could just do anything else but acknowledge the fact that I'm ignoring what I'm being told, what I'm being told from within. I mean, I know we've all found that process, but how that reflects with our twin is also a procrastination in us. Also is a bit of denial for us. And I'm not saying go into that, like, let's re-traumatize ourselves by overanalyzing to the point of, like, there's integration time. Right? It's not all masculine movement. There's a feminine aspect of let's letting the waves kind of settle and see what it is. Let's actually, and then the masculine part will come up and let's hunt it, right? In terms of that aspect that needs to be healed. And it's a really delicate dance. And I'm not saying it has to be a man or a woman combination, but it's the energetics of the relationship of the twin energy.
Yeah, and that energy of the twin energy, the whole thing is, I have read, you know how I love to read the comments and not watch the videos. But so many people are, and even on Facebook, I'm done. I'm through with this. I don't care anymore. And they're just, I hate him. No, you don't. Stop that. You don't, because we know in a week you're going to be posting, something crazy. But we've got to get out of this. This is what it's supposed to look like. And we've talked about it. We've talked about it with manifesting. We've talked about it with all kinds of different things when we're looking at things. We've got to get out of the what it's supposed to look like. This is not a, it's not a cookie cutter kind of thing. It's not like anything anybody's been through, because 9 times out of 10, anybody that's ever been through anything would have given up a long time ago. People just don't understand. It's not that easy. You just can't. But it doesn't have to be. And this is where, and I think this is kind of some of the ancestral things I'm like kind of working through. And that is the whole thing of, don't get me wrong, a real, a man's man, a real man kind of thing. There's something about that, their strength and their ability to, take care of and stuff like that. That's fantastic. But if they know their other side, that's even more amazing. But when we look at, well, a guy must open a door for you. Well, if he's the first one at the door, fine. But I don't have a problem opening the door if I'm the first one there. And those are the kind of things we've got to get out of these gender roles. If we want to bring this whole thing into complete harmony, we've got to get out of this, me man, you woman, kind of thing. We have to let it just play. And I'm not saying non-polite and those kind of things. And if that's what you like, that's fine. And once again, every relationship, pairing, union, whatever you want to call it, is different. But we have to get out of that Harlequin romance kind of, he's coming in and sweeping you off your feet. Yes.
Yes, April.
I would like to beg. No, just kidding. I wouldn't like to beg, because but that song is Ain't Too Proud to Beg. But I'm just gonna differ. How about that? I'll just differ.
Just going to show another facet of life. Okay.
Yes, the diamonds. The diamonds. Right. Encrusted in jewels knowledge. Let me drop that. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it's all about the dynamic of the story, right, of the individual. And so for me, in my process, it's different in the sense that I've literally had people open doors for me, but then not know how to step through the door. Right? So having that gallantry, having that grace and that ease, and then, oh, I can nurture, I can give all there is, but then can I receive, right? And then, oh, I can get all this information and this knowledge, but then can I produce, right? Can I make that piece of wood a birdhouse? That was the worst analogy I've ever made, but I think you get what I'm saying is there's a balance to it. And yes, there is the whole not sitting somewhere and waiting for something, or things having to fit exactly in your box of perfection, but getting to a place that you push yourself into your healing spaces and your healing boundaries that you've set within yourself. Like, I can't receive unless he has XYZ, or I can't actually be considered successful until I XYZ, or you use that thing, I'm only useful if I've gotten that promotion or something like that. You know, it's like, no, you're always useful, you're always worthy of receiving, you're always, you know, and we're going into this space of abundance and fecundity, but I guess my question for you, Steph, is just when you're stepping towards your goal, not getting lost in the comparison of where you think you're supposed to be or the place you want to be, and that you how to stop yourself from holding yourself back from receiving not only yourself, you know, who you're becoming, but also wisdom from your higher self and God and all of that.
Well, first, you see this right here? See the chart looks like me versus me.
Yes, we talked about this before the show.
Yes, me versus me. I'm my only competition. So that's what I have to tell myself. It's easy in grad school for people, especially in mental health and psychology. People want to be first. They get a chip on their shoulder because they think they know it all and stuff like that. And they want to instantly compete with the next person. But what I had to understand and know that everybody is in their own lane and they have their own gifts and their own talents. So just because one person is seeming like they're getting ahead or doing more, they're running their own race. Their race is not mine. My journey is different from their journey. So I have to remind myself of that. I can see on Facebook and Instagram people was graduating before me and doing X, Y, and Z. And it was easy to get into that self-loathing and be like, oh my God, I was supposed to get done last year. But always remember, God's timing is everything. And I'm on my own journey. It's a miracle in the wait. It's a season for the wait, and there's a reason for the wait. So I have to tell myself that. And when I talk to clients and stuff, they're like, I can't find myself. I'm not happy right now. I want to be married. And I tell them the truth. I said, being in relationships is not all that it is supposed to be. Because I know people that's in relationships right now that are still lonely. Yeah. They thought being married was going to be the end of it. And they sitting at home still lonely today.
Mm-hmm.
So first you got to be the person you want to attract in your life. So if you don't want to be lonely, get out there in the world and be your own friend. Take your own self out. I know a lot of women be like, I don't want to go out to restaurants by myself, X, Y, and Z. But let me tell you a trick about that. You go earlier in the day and you sit at the bar. And those bartenders are very nice. They love women sitting there. They give you free drinks and stuff. If you want to go to the movies earlier. Go to the matinee. It's cheaper. And it's also there are single people there. So don't wait for that person to show up to make yourself happy. Make yourself happy. And through that happiness, you will attract what you want in life.
Yeah, that's really is a good. I remember that was before COVID. I was getting it. I was really getting that down pat. I was I was telling my, because I know she would worry. Some things I just had to kind of tell it the opposite of what's going on. But at that time I was doing after school, and sometimes I would cancel the after school, and then I just go out and take myself out on a date. I wouldn't tell her, but I was always calling, let my bestie know, in case somebody, I don't know why, in my back of my mind want to kidnap me or whatever. I have somebody can locate where I was supposed to be. She was at the movies downtown XY. I would always check in and let her know where I was at in case anything went down. But anyway, each time you do it, and I can speak for myself as a person that's always had somebody around, whether I'm taking mom or dad is with me or whatever, each time you do it, you build confidence. Like, okay, Okay, I was a little nervous. I didn't kind of enjoy myself at the movie that first time, but next time I go, I'm gonna get a little bit more comfortable. This next time I'm gonna give me some popcorn. I was kind of scared. I didn't use the washroom because I didn't want to know how to take my spot. And you kind of get the trick of the trade a little bit better. You say, okay, next time, okay, hey, let's get a little popcorn, a little something to drink this time. Settle in. We're gonna use the water. You get a routine, and each time you're like, okay, you know what? I think we're gonna add going to eat something after the show. Okay, I think I can do that. Okay, we can do. So, you just kind of each time that you do it, you add another layer to it. Like, okay, I think I perfected the movies. I'm a little bored of these dates of going to the movies. Let's actually go to, this place next, and so you add on to the experience. Each time you do it, it gets a little bit better than the last time. You can add a little bit more of an element than the last time to kind of upgrade your thing. You're thinking people sitting there thinking, looking at you. You're not, and if they do it, hey, that's their business. Enjoy yourself. Sit there, get you a nice book to read. If you don't want to be looking eyeball to eyeball with people, that's what I would do. I would read on my phone, something like that. Every now and then, I don't know why the partner would always chime in. No, I was out by myself. What you doing? Jesus Christ. Okay, so I am not alone on this date. But anyway, so every now and then that would happen. And that would tickle me that would happen. Like, okay, you zoned in and know I was going out on a date. We were going out on a date as myself. And so that was it. But I mean, it does. Just find things that you can do. And it is so liberating when you do it. It really is. It's a liberating thing. I was scared to death, but the more and more I did it, it was a great. So I do suggest what Stephanie says, in doing that, doing whatever it is. You want to go skating by yourself, just do it. Like my book that I read, it says 5 things, 5 high five. And just say, picture yourself. Okay, today I'm going to go skating. I've been saying I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually do it. And just see yourself, doing it. And if you don't knock yourself. Say, okay, I tried, the thing was just me to lay out my outfit that I was going to go skating in. I didn't do it, but what I can do is high five myself that I laid out the outfit. I had the perfect skating outfit for the. So next time I know what to wear, whatever little small things that you do. Don't celebrate the lows that I didn't actually do, but what did I do to accomplish myself to go on this date with myself? Okay, I did pick out the show. I didn't go, but I did pick out the show. So do something of that nature to celebrate instead of going into the negative Nelly. That's a new thing that I've been even experiencing with myself. What can I do? Because even when I talk to lady, and she was like, well, that's an interesting perspective. You found something good. I was like, yeah, in the whole situation, you could have thought something negative, but if you really are finding ways to celebrate, to say, hey, yeah, these kids are acting crazy. I had to kind of find my voice. And I'm noticing now each time when I do things in the classroom, it doesn't bother me as much. And she's like, okay. I say, so now, she said, well, what was the great thing about it? I said, now things don't bother me like it used to be. It would irritate my soul, as my other person said, so much when they would do things. Now I find it doesn't irritate me as much. And so you'll find things that will spill over into other areas. And so I think some of us are kind of finding ways that even with these negative things, I think we were talking about that earlier too. So I'm segueing away from that, which is now looking at these negative things. What is the highlight or the pearl that I can find in this whole situation as well? And I think that's where we're Spirit wants us, this all along want us to understand that too, but also with these mental stuff that's going on, like how do we train ourselves to start now veering off to see more of the positive, because we're seeing so much of either in our mind, we're automatically in that instinct mode or that survival mode. When is it that we learn how to click ourselves over from the mental into just the state of being like, okay, this is who I am. I'm okay where I am. You know, even when we talk about going on a date by yourself, you're in instinct or survival mode. Like, okay, I don't want nobody mess with me. This, that. But then, you know, eventually what you want to do is to shift that gear into being like, this is, I'm relaxed. I'm observing the movie. I'm observing myself having fun at the movies. So how do we get able to shift ourselves from that state of heightenedness and intensity of, like I said, being one that's like, again, I'm protective instinct or surviving, to now in this whole journey where it's a state of being, where we create that shift. How are we able to do that? Help ourselves mentally to move into that, because that ego is going to always keep on throwing us out there where it's going, I'm protecting, but don't do this, don't do that. That's crazy. I don't listen to them ladies. They don't know what they talk about. Don't be trying to go out there in this COVID by yourself on no date. You crazy. You might go out there and catch something. So, you know, how do you shift that into how do you do that? How you do
Baby
that?
steps.
Baby steps.
It's gotta be baby steps. Mine kind of, I got thrown into it.
Okay.
Working at the newspaper, being, you know, an executive at 25. So I didn't have a lot of people to go out for lunch with. So it was nothing to go and sit at one of the really nice restaurants in Miami that were right down from the Miami Herald and have lunch by myself. And so, you know, and you could just watch the people try to figure out what your story was. You know, so I, you know, I'd make sure that I would, you know, carry a Sports Illustrated or some kind of off the wall magazine just to make them wonder more what was going on, add to their story. If it made their lunch entertaining and that's what they did, because you know what other people think about you is none of your business.
That's right.
But Mimi makes a great point on that. You know, there's two different sides to this, because there's a lot of us that are very comfortable by ourselves on our own. You know, I can do it. I've done it for so long. I don't mind. I don't mind going to a concert. I don't mind going to an art show. I don't mind going for dinner. You know, I'll go to the movies. I'll do these things. But it's learning to integrate back into a group when you're invited places and not having that, you know, I don't have a plus one. It's just me. Hello, here I am. And not feeling guilty or like something's missing or empty because you're out with a bunch of, you know, people and it's just you. And I think at that point you have to remind yourself you were invited, unless you invited yourself. Now, if you invited yourself, we got other issues. We'll talk about that another day. But if you were invited by this group of people, friends, colleagues, whatever, they want you to join them.
True.
They want you, your personality, you, that person they see every day, they kind of like them. And you need to be comfortable in your skin.
Yes, I completely agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. I seen a lady on the Tamara Hall show, and she was talking about confidence. Some people think confidence is a feeling. It's like a feeling that happens. Actually, confidence is a behavior. So it's like a coat you put on when you walk somewhere. So like Kathy was saying, if somebody invites you out somewhere, they wanted you to be there. So when you walk in that room, walk in there like you own it. Put your shoulders back, put on that coat like a behavior is confidence, and walk in there with confidence. You have a voice in the world. You have something to say. You got to take up space, so take up the space. I read somewhere they're going to be looking anyway, so you might as well give them something to look at. So put on that confidence like a coat and rock it out.
I like that.
Yes. I'm loving that.
Mm-hmm.
Loving it.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the whole mom life, right? And calling in that energy of the partner is sitting in that energy, like letting it sit there, letting it get comfortable being next to you. Like I'm also parallel working on all those shadow aspects that are completely resistant to it as well. Right? So I can't be in denial and say, oh, well, they just aren't with me or, you know, whatever. There's some storyline that everybody always makes up about why they're disconnected, right? But when they realize that they're not disconnected, they're actually connected and they're stepping closer and closer to each other so that they can actually hold each other in that frequency. You start to appreciate the little things. Like, for example, I do go out with my son and that energy, that essence is there, you know, that it it's a way of holding in and vibrating at that space where you're celebrating the wins, like Divine Sunshine was saying. You're showing and taking up space, and you're taking up so much space, they're taking up space too, right? They're holding in that space with you. And I find it kind of comforting because I know that I'm learning to have patience with myself, right? Because it's the part where the illusion of time sets in, and you you want it to happen now, or you have this immediate gratification that you're seeking, or you know, it's an itch you want to scratch. But it's like the true tantra of life, the true enjoyment, the savoring of it. Anticipation is one of the best spices, right? Yes, you'll always be able to reflect back on that epic love story, or that epic meeting, or that epic union or connection, and you do reflect on things that were positive in your life. But like Divine Sunshine was saying earlier, sometimes we over dwell in the negative. Sometimes we over dwell in that disconnect, and that's what we're actually attracting, right? How many times do you have that cascade effect where you stub your toe and you're like, great, now what? And then something else happens, and then something else, and it's a little cascade that just kind of peed on your parade, you know? And if we get into this sense and the delight of enjoying the moments, savoring the experience, appreciating where you're actually at, and realizing that it's okay to be there, you actually attract it faster than if you sit there and nitpick and needle at the negative aspects of it. So I can look at the situation in a sense of dark and gloomy and, you know, disconnect. Or I can sit in that, look at me being an awesome mom, loving my kid, going to the park, and then what's it like with my partner there at the park and us having that family time? What's it like having multiple children and having that fun and that growth and that experience? And just calling that in and
Alicia.
what's the, thank you. I'm like, it's right at the tip of my tongue. It's delicious. It's relishing, relishing that moment. And the same thing happens once you start to go into the practicing of, dare I say it, Freaky Friday edition. But you know, when you're calling in your feminine essence and you're using that pleasure to cultivate and bring in apparently more life and more little beings calling you mommy, but you know, that's beside the point. You can actually see, and you'll know that that energy comes in. And I know all these ladies have felt when that energy comes in, and that is like the funnest ride ever, because you're like, is this what it was like for what was it? It wasn't Ghost, it was another movie where the ghost um was having sex with a woman in the shower or something. I don't remember. Anyway,
Oh, yeah, I remember that movie.
it was a funny one. It was a comedy. It wasn't like a,
Yeah.
but the whole essence is like that energy comes in. That energy is real, right? So testing that threshold and bringing in that sensuality is calling that energy in closer and closer. And I bet you feel that, because when you magnetize yourself as a feminine with pleasure as your polarity, not just pain, you start to get more. You start to realize you're catching more eyes. You're even sashaying maybe a little bit. You got that swivel. You know, you really do awaken that divine feminine essence. And one of the ways I really like, you know, I'm always promoting the yoni steam, because not only is it working with the healing and the calming of the nervous system, and but it acts like arousal. It brings that plushness, that blood flow to the space. It softens the muscles and anything else that's in there that's blocking you from receiving. I can't get that orange. Oh, okay. Looks like it's in there for now then. We'll get the orange out of the monster truck later. But you know, when you better cruise, bro. No throwing toys in my room. Uh-oh. Well, give me just a moment. We need to have a conversation, him and I. No, it's fine. He's relaxed. It's not that dramatic. But realizing that, taking that time, right? So I did an exam. Okay, good job. we threw it to get it out. It wasn't a dramatic thing. So when you're taking that time out to acknowledge what's happening, right? So often when we were children, we were placated or shushed or nullified, right? So we didn't necessarily get our needs met, or we didn't feel acknowledged or heard or seen and all of this stuff. And so it's time that we awaken into hearing and seeing ourselves. So with the yoni steaming, it brings a voice to the womb and an area that you've been told to be ashamed about or put away, or all this stuff. you know, and and it's happened for generations, right? So many generations of women that birthed and bore you were forced to be into masculine states in order to survive. They were forced to be quiet. If they were assaulted or anything like that, they were forced to like disacknowledge it or just accept that that relative was around without having any repercussions. And now it's the time where we're cleaning all that energy up. And so, as a person on this journey, this spiritual quest, we're clearing that up for not only ourselves, but those before us. And so often I've been seeing these really interesting patterns where this mother wound, where people are clearing out their association with their mom. Some relationships good, some relationships codependent, some relationships, all kinds of all horrible or neglectful and all that. And the same thing is happening with the father aspect, that now we're all super raw. Like, I don't know if you've seen this. This is the most retrograde with eclipses. I was like, why did they even do that to us, right? But because we can handle it. Because we, especially if you're here listening now, you have the ability to look back at, okay, what didn't work out for my mother? Maybe she tried to control everything, or maybe she did the opposite and didn't want to control anything at all and made me control everything. Or maybe it was even to the point where, please stop that. Maybe it was even to the point where, you actually had to raise your siblings like I did, or you had to maybe even get a job to help the house, or maybe it was one of those you got blamed for everything, or even physically abused, right? You're carrying this stuff in your body. And so when you ignore it and you just say, I'm going to pacify myself with the person, the external for me, that means you're now putting all this responsibility and duty and heaviness on them. And of course, that means, would you be attracted to that? Would you want to go into the state of, okay, this person needs me to do all this stuff? Or would you like to go into a state of, this person's completely aware of what's going on with them? And we're going to take the patience that we have, like we do with our children, or like we do with the next generation, or like we wish we had when we were children, and actually acknowledge what's happening. Maybe even it might come up a couple times, but we're going to just recorrect that and shift that. We're going to do what um, Divine Sunshine was saying earlier, celebrate the wins, you know. And, one of the things that I've seen is people with severe trauma and severe spiritual gifts, they cannot seem to differentiate between what's happening to them spiritually and what's also being overlapped because of that trauma experience. So, Kamakani, please no screaming. So, would you suggest any ways to navigate, little boy, navigate between having that spiritual experience and then that traumatic response?
I think you really, if you are experiencing that, you really need to heal yourself, and you probably need to see a therapist or psychologist to help you through that, because you will end up bringing up a lot of stuff. And if you don't acknowledge it and heal it properly, you can probably do more damage to yourself. So if you have severe trauma, I do have clients who have been through severe trauma and they're spiritual at the same time. And we have to pull them apart, and we have to say, no, this is real. This is your life. And these are things that you're experiencing. And we need to work on this. And on the other hand, we have to deal with their spirituality and the stuff, because sometimes it's a conflict that's going on. So we acknowledge both, but we got to make sure that I'm not disrespecting their religious beliefs or their spirituality at the same time, while I'm trying to heal their traumatic experiences and things.
Yeah, I agree with April because I know even as a person that is going myself, it's kind of hard to distinguish between like spiritually, I would say in sometimes I would say in some ways what issue that I'm going through kind of like now without me revealing what it is an understanding of, like really is this something that I say I could spiritually push through and get me through when humanly it should be like, as a regular person, human that would look at it and would say, I think you're adding on too much or you're taking on too much, but then I could say I could spiritually power through it. It's a hard thing to, and it's interesting enough. And I know a lot of times, spiritual people don't want to go see a therapist because they like, I don't want them to change me or they're going to reprogram me some kind of way that they don't really get me because of the spirituality. However, it's sometimes you need that outside perspective. And I'm seeing about a car. I remember my one of my babies, my furry babies, bought me a car for my mom, an index card. They had realization on it, 1110. And I was like, okay. And she brought it to me. I'm like, where you get this car from? Well, I said, it came off my wall. And so sometimes you need that reality check from that therapist. They really say, okay, from the 3D perspective, because we become so up there in that upper, I call it upper echelon, or in the upper room or in the closet where you really get your idea, that we can't really see that, hey, something is not truly right about this. And sometimes having that outside look at it can be able, a therapist or someone else that's really can decipher or discern for you about how this really needs to be thought out, that maybe it don't need you to power through, or you don't need to spiritually pull through and call on all the archangels. It's like really look and see what is it really good for you amongst all of the trauma, because maybe even the trauma that you have experienced might make you say, I can do it. And then the spiritual and saying, if I just pray my way through it and call on all my spiritual guides, I can. But then somebody on the outside said, there's really no need to. Do you really hear the conversation that you're having with yourself? Do you really hear the words that you're saying? You're saying you're tired of the job, but you're saying you're going to keep on powering through. Trauma, going back to what April would say, is because, well, when I see my dad, he's a workaholic. He'll keep on pushing through. And I'll see him tired and still hit the snooze button and say, give me 5 more minutes and I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the job. I'm going. Or I go back and see trauma about things of how things were done in my life. Maybe my mother was a person that just kept on saying, although she was treated wrong, and she still powered through. I'm just using an example that it's not really pertaining. But anyway, those things, if you use that trauma would not, that trauma bond would not help you healthily see things for what they actually are. And then you might go and layer it and use the spirituality as an excuse to, again, to say I can do it, when really actually you hear a person that hears you talking through your therapy or through your sessions and will say, but do you really hear what you're actually saying? You're saying, yeah, I can do it. I think this is my mission and purpose by being here at this job. Or, but however, again, I told you how my father and mother pushed through it. But at the same time, when you have the conversation, they're hearing you saying, I can't keep on doing this job. And this the bottom line. They'll get right straight to the bottom line. You said throughout this whole conversation, you're really tired of the job. But you keep on saying, I'm gonna pray. So this is again that outside source, and I'm in agreement with that, can kind of help you to kind of see. Whether it's a therapist or you might see a spiritual person or any one of us in here, we could be able an outside person or maybe even that good friend. They'll put you on the spot too and tell you, no, Bertine, I heard you, but did you hear what you said? You said you tired of the job in so many words. So That's another way for you to kind of be able to kind of look at and see how you're not doing that. Get an outside person to really see what you're really saying when you think you're saying XYZ, and they'll feed it back to you and throw it back to you in the way, in the manner that you said it, and maybe you don't even hear yourself saying. That's another way.
You're definitely correct. So me as a therapist, because I'm a twin flame and I'm a spirituality and whatnot, I bring that to my therapy sessions with my clients. And I think because I am that, God is bringing me clients that's on that same journey. So a lot of my clients have different gifts and um, different legs of the race, I guess you can say. And also,
Mm-hmm.
you was talking about the way you think and things like that. One of the approaches we use is cognitive behavior therapy, and it's like a triangle effect, like your thoughts, your behaviors, and your actions. And
Mm.
sometimes we don't know, but most people who experience trauma, we don't understand how it shaped our brain, and it affects how we respond to things, how we hear things, how we interpret things. And when you go to therapy and you go to somebody that's doing CBT, they help you intersect that triangle and be like, this is how you were thinking about a situation, this is how you behaving to a situation, this is how you were emotionally responding to it, and they help you break down those things. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, spirituality can help, but sometimes you need those extra tools to help you overcome some things in your life, like trauma.
That's true. Very much so.
So in my book, I have this whole chapter about the epigenetics of trauma. And trauma goes so deep, it's etched into your DNA. So like, oh, she has her dad's temper, or she has her grandmother's, these things are actually passed down, these responses, right? Because they're all hormonal chemical responses that are brought about through the body. And so the more that they are stressed or used within a section or period of life due to, let's say, something like trauma, the more that the more quickly the body will respond in the same way. And the gametes, or the sperm and egg that they produce, they're also going to now have those markers that say, in order for survival, you need to have these trauma responses ready to go. And so I talk about, there's a lot of studies about mindfulness and how you can actually actively shift your epigenetic signature, like what's actually happening as a trigger. So by you taking that time to get to know yourself, by you slowing down and integrating what you've experienced, right? Because you can't just keep healing. You're gonna scrape until you're down to the bone, and then it's like, oh snap, I have even more to heal than I did before. So taking that time and allowing the process, finding yourself adequate mental uh, health professionals to support you in your journey is key. And you can find someone, just as there is a counterpart for every person, there's a therapist for you. Okay. So don't give yourself that excuse that nobody will like you, or nobody will listen to you, or they're going to talk to you in that way. Because when you find that vibration as your vibration, that's what you're going to find. What you look for, you will find. And that's the beauty of it,
True.
especially since we're getting into this instant manifestation time. But if you keep open to the idea that there's going to be more, that there's support, that these things are coming to you, you just kind of have to keep repeating it to open it, right? Because you can say one thing, but mean a completely different thing energetically. So, do you have any tips on getting into alignment with your energy? Like, okay, let's say you're healing from trauma. Um, what's an easy one? Heartbreak. Easy. Heartbreak is easy, she said. Um,
Betrayal. Damn it.
okay, yeah, but that's more specific. Let's go into let's say you were betrayed by a partner, but you are seeking another partner. But you keep going through your head, oh, people cheat, or this is that, or they, what would be some ways that we could actively counter the energy that we're sending out? Like, how do we shift that within? I've got some methods, but I want to know from a profesh.
Okay, well, one of those things was stop focusing on that other person and focus on yourself, because it's coming from you. Because why are you worrying about the betrayal? Because it's something going on inside of you, like your self worth and self esteem, and realizing that you picked that person out in the long run. So what about that person was you attracted to? Was it an emotional unavailability? Does that person remind you of somebody else in your life, like a parent? Like what made you go towards that person? And you teach people how to treat you. So when you in that relationship with that person and they was betraying you, why did you accept it? What was that doing for you in the end? So the beginning of that and the answer to that is working on yourself and building your own self up. And not focusing on the outside person. You got to start with yourself first.
Okay, yeah, you
Bravo.
do. You have to start. There, I can hear somebody talk about. Oh, it was wrong at the beginning, but I told him to shut up because I was like, I'm not in that space anymore. And plus, I don't want to hear what they said, but it was somebody that was jumping in really hard. As far as like, okay, so you saying it's me that I attracted that person? You know, they really hurt me bad. I hear what you're saying. So I got to start with me because there's something within me. And you know that some of these people that starting on this twin flame journey and they hear that, they're like, you got to be kidding. I don't know if I am ready to hear that or to deal with that. You know, what would be another way that you could be able to break that down um, to them? Because I know even I can just say once upon a time, it's like, no, that's nice. It's really him. He got the problem. He got the issue. He got bad, you know, his lifestyle, how he was raised. He really don't know no better. So I don't think that's no way reflecting of me.
I will ask you, who are you responsible for?
Myself.
Right. So are you responsible for how the other person is acting?
No, that's why I say I got a problem with him because
Right, because
he
you
should
can you
know better.
change it. So can you change his behaviors?
So, hold on, my thing, you know. Let's say it again. No,
Yes,
Give me a crowbar in 15 minutes. I'm about to change something. Just kidding.
and that's
He don't need no windows. He don't need. No, I'm just kidding. I just.
yes, I had a client, and she wanted me to get her husband to tell her that he was cheating, and I'm like, that's not how therapy works. I'm only here
oh,
to help you. So yes, they come in all different forms,
oh,
and
really now? No, I
yeah,
can't do that.
projecting and want us to fix other people. And I remind them all the time, I'm here to fix the person that I'm talking to and who's on the couch. So how can I help you? And if I change your outlook and how you're looking at the situation and yourself, then that will be reflected on the outside of yourself and in your relationships.
That's true. That's the starting point, and I think a lot we forget, especially at the beginning. I know we are not there anymore, but I can go back and step into my former self and say all the X, Y, and Z's. I'm saying what his issue was more than where it is. Like, okay, now turn the mirror. We're twins, and we are calling reflection for a reason. And so now we have kind of evolved into that. But I definitely know at the beginning, or I'm thinking about what Kathy D, some of those ones talk about, it's over. I can't do this no more. You can take this journey and shove it where the sun don't shine. You know, all that kind of extra
That
stuff.
just means you're
I can tell
doing it
that's where they
right.
are. So what you say?
You'll get past that eventually, but that just means you're doing it right, right? Because apparently, getting on your last nerve only helps you get more nerves,
Right.
right?
I can say that me trying to work on my mission and my purpose kind of gave me a detour, so I didn't focus on all that negativity so much. It had me like shift, and I had to keep pouring my energy into school, and I just focus on that. I'm a Scorpio, so I can overanalyze stuff and drive myself crazy. So if my schoolwork made me focus on something else, so I am happy for that. So I believe I'm over that hump, and I'm now into the promised land. But yeah, I'm happy for school. So yeah, find your purpose. Go read some books about something. Go get a hobby, something, because you're
Go
gonna drive
watch our
yourself crazy.
first year. Go watch our first year. It's so hardcore on mission and self love and self care and self focus. There's so many meditations. You will fly higher than a kite with on a spiritual if you go on that spiritual bender. So go down the rabbit hole with the playground experience the first year. And I
I
don't
love
know if
it.
they're labeled properly, but
Yeah,
You
that's
they're
know,
kind
there.
of Divine Unisouls 11 because all that couldn't transfer over. I think it's a couple of them on this one, but all of them couldn't transfer over. So yeah,
Wow. I
yeah,
love it. I actually love working on myself now. Like I'll be like, oh, let me go get my nails done. Oh, I like my hair done. Oh, let me go to the spa. Like, what else can I do this week to work on myself? So I'm just
true.
addicted to working on myself now.
So true. So true. So true. You do. You do. You do.
Yeah, and
Very
you
much
get to
so.
the point. Yeah, you get to the point too where, as we just said, what other people think, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business what they think, and you really take that to heart. When you know that you're not being selfish, because unless you're taking something away from somebody, unless you're taking food away from them, shelter away from them, clothing away from them, safety away from them, anything like that, as long as you're not doing that and everything is taken care of, you're able to take care of yourself. And it's that oxygen mask. You got to put it on you first, because what kind of example are you giving to your children, or divine sunshine, in our cases, the kids watching us?
Right.
What kind of example are we leading if we're not being 100%? And we've got to, because we're not only in our position, we're not only putting on that oxygen mask for us, and like for you, for your mom, me, for my girls, we're putting it on for everybody that's watching us.
Right.
Now, that's not saying you have to be perfect. And that was something that I've learned, especially the amazing things you learn from teenagers. um it was all right to have a bad day, and it was all right to be pissed off, and those kids will be like, oof, what happened to you? I'm like, I'm gonna kill him. Yeah, I'd look at him and I go, I think I could rock an orange jumpsuit. And then it became this joke. But they helped me look at it and laugh about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had probably some of the most unprofessional therapists known to man, that were from the ages of 17 to 19. um and it was back and forth, it was vice versa, learning together to look at things. But like you mentioned too, sometimes if you're not ready to go into a professional situation because you can't find, and this is something that I think Stephanie will agree with me on this too. Remember, when you get any kind of therapist or even a doctor, yes, they have all the credentials, but if you don't jive with them,
Yes.
remember, they're working for you. I mean, there are plenty of times, and it's hard when I do hypnotherapy and stuff to tell people, because they really want help, but they want it for the wrong reasons. They want to quit smoking because they want to, keep their husband around, or all this kind of stuff. But if you don't want to quit, I can't help you. Um, and so I have to tell them that, if this is really your motivation, I'm so sorry, the way I run my practice, I can't help you. And we have to turn people away, because I'm doing them a disservice where they might be able to find somebody that can help them. So you have to make sure, go in, do a consultation with people, talk to them. If you don't agree with them, if you don't feel it, then, don't. It makes it easier, I believe, and I think you'll agree, Stephanie. It makes it easier if there's a mutual kind of understanding. You're not going to be a friend with your therapist, unless you're lucky like us, and then we're friends with our therapist. But you know, you're you're there for help, and that's what their job is. And their job is to point out, the stick in your eye while you're trying to pick a speck out of somebody else's.
Right.
That's really what they're there for. And but there's a way to do it. There's some people that are extremely blunt and straightforward, and that's what they need. And there are others that need more caring and compassion, and kind of letting them come to it on their own. um so take the time and find one. But if you don't find one, always make sure you talk to somebody. um I'm very lucky. I have all these, amazing ladies and other friends. And then I have a best friend that is brutally honest and will tell me exactly what a lot of times I don't want to hear. So I only ask the opinion when I'm needed, or need it, and am ready for it. But that's probably one of the best things, because I know it is completely honest. It's not sugar coated. It's not um sweetened by any way, shape, or form. It's what I need to hear at that moment. So um just find somebody that can speak to your heart, speak to your soul. If you don't feel comfortable, if you start dreading going
Going
to
to them.
therapy, then don't do it. Like Stephanie said, you know, we've all said we enjoy this healing process because we see it, we feel it, we can look back. If you go back and watch the videos from our first year and then flip to like the most recent one, you're going to see a big difference. You're going to see three very healed ladies. Well, actually, Stephanie, you were even on some of them the first year.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're going to see a very big difference in the four of us.
Not even
Are we
just hear
done
from them.
healing? No. Is anybody ever done?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh yeah. But we're none of us are done healing, and you never will be. But you learn to love yourself through the healing. And that's the thing. And another thing is, if you're unfortunately you're not lucky like I am to have, you know, a best friend that will, you know, cut you no slack, then I brought it up like months ago, but the awe book, the automatic writing experience, and that's the
Yes.
one that you do kind of almost subconsciously. Amazing book. You can really get a lot of stuff out of that. If nothing else, then getting your thoughts organized. So when you go to find someone that you want to talk to, you know where your area is, because you don't want to go for anxiety and, like, say, depression if their specialty is marriage counseling and eating disorders. So you've got to, I mean, you might have an eating disorder, but it stems from your anxiety. You know, you might have bad relationships and that stems from your depression, but you don't want to go to somebody that specializes in those. You've got to go to the root of what the problem is. And that's probably one of the hardest things, is finding the root of the problem.
Right, right. And that is true, because I know even with me when I had decided that day to do it, and thank God, like Sean had helped with his with us with the twin flame therapy group, had helped us to kind of like say, you know, what's the areas if you go and take his that little hook up to the machine, it kind of tells you what kind of areas that you kind of maybe want to kind of concentrate on, or even yourself. You know, I was just standing next to doing one day, and I said, I've not been feeling anxious, but I mean, I feel really anxiety to the 10th power. And I think I need to go talk to somebody about that. And, you know, and so it'll come to you, you know, maybe even in a dream, or you might see the word. Keep saying, why anxiety keep on? I keep on seeing commercials talk about anxiety. What the heck? And it's somebody does something for my spirit, you know, so maybe that's it, you know, and you just ask, as Kathy D always say, ask, make it plain, make it clear to me, and they'll tell you, no, it's this, you know. You might see commercials with a lot of family, mom and something about mom and a baby makes you weak. Well, maybe you need to go see somebody about family. You need to kind of find out about healing of that. So, you know, it will come when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I truly believe in that. And so that means whatever it is that you need, it will come to you as far as where you need to kind of connect with. You could also, we talk about therapists too. What would you all say would be good? I know, like for me, I went to psychology today and looked in and plugged in and say, I need somebody to work with anxiety. And a whole bunch of them came up. Is there any other ways that you could do? I know one time K Moon was, but I don't know where you get that resource. I don't know if that's on her website, but she was, and I know even what's Divine Maverick was talking about that one time too. I don't know where they always trying to get resources of people that work in actual outside fields, and it was like some kind of way it would be like a directory sorts of people who are also twin flames but practice outside of this spirituality, like mental health, therapists and things. But what is another thing, as we kind of maybe wrap up, what would you say would be some suggestions of how you would be able to find one if somebody is really interested in getting a therapist, other than what I said?
Your insurance.
Yeah.
Check with your
Yeah.
insurance company.
Okay.
Yeah, and then know that
That's,
there's
you know,
different types of therapists out there, that they come in 3 different packages. There's social workers, there's LPCs, marriage and family therapists, and then there's psychologists and psychiatrists. And then, like she said, go on Psychology Today. That's a very good, clear one. There's other little sites like Therapy for Black Girls, Men and Black Men in Therapy, like sites like that. And then when you get to them, make sure you read their profiles.
Yes.
Because you can get certified in different modalities that can help you. Like I mentioned earlier, cognitive behavior therapy, that's one. The one that I want to be the one that I'm working on is emotionally focused individual therapy. And I think a lot of times twin flames, we are emotionally unavailable, or are not able to recognize our emotions. So that's why I went into that one. And another one is called IFS, Internal Family Systems. And that one actually recognizes your higher self and things. So there's different modalities out there that can help you. And I know clients and people don't understand that, but read the description and see what people focus on and their interest is. Like Kathy D said, don't go to somebody that's for an eating disorder when you might have PTSD or something. So you might want to be more specific there.
Right. That's a good topic. Next time we'll talk about that, because that came up kind of several times about being unemotional available, especially as twin flames are not being able to recognize your own emotions, rather because of trauma or just a lot of other things, or just being a people pleaser, or the way you're raised, or even life experiences trained you to be that way, to turn it off. So I think that's a good topic to even say for next time when we come together, about that unemotional availability and how we attract that in our twins and vice versa. Is there anything other that's going on in the community that you all want to say as we wrap it up?
Well, one thing, if you're looking for somebody like in hypnotherapy, which is kind of another kind of window, that is you want to look into somebody that has NLP training on that one, the neuro-linguistic, because and that's a little, it's more getting into the subconscious than the conscious. I actually use both of them, but it kind of goes hand in hand. It makes the hypnotherapy much easier on the person being hypnotized and easier on the therapist. It's a smoother transition. It lasts longer. You're able to kind of get into a deeper seated place, but still in a short amount of time.
When would a person come and seek that they said, you know what, I do therapy, something ain't hitting on something? When would they go and seek a person like you? Is she frozen?
Yeah, she's frozen again. Oh, I think they will seek out if they want to go deeper, maybe, and go to their subconscious. Maybe I think that's what they. And
somebody, when you go see hypno, it's like you've been hitting, and it's just like it's a wall and can't.
Some people have some subconscious things going on, and they can't tap into that memory or that thought, so they might go to a hypnotherapist, so they can dig deep and get to that issue or whatnot. So my recommendation would make sure that when you're looking for professional help, make sure the person is professional and they went to some kind of school and they graduated. Not no Facebook, Instagram therapist is a real person.
Right.
That's trained. Yeah.
Look into my eyes.
Yes. Yeah. Really make sure the person is trained. And like for us, I think most therapists have to have a minimum of maybe 200 to 500 clinical hours before they can graduate. So please look into that and be diligent about your searches and stuff.
Kathy, do you remember my question? Did you want to answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You come to look for somebody with hypnotherapy when usually it's an addiction, it's a phobia, it's something like that you've learned that it is a process. Like you can do eating disorders and things like that, but that's really more for professionals like me, that she can help you see what's going on. When you get to the point with me that you're scared of heights, but you're a lineman for the electric company, but you don't know why. You've never fallen, you've never done anything, nobody can figure out why. that's, you know, those phobias, those kind of things are when you come for the hypnotherapy. Also, there's a whole lot of stuff going on right now in Europe with hypnotherapy, helping with birthing. People that can't take pain medicine. I mean, we've been so desensitized with pain medicine. We can't take a lot of things like that. Helping people with cancer. That before they take chemotherapy, they do the hypnotherapy to help their body absorb the technically the chemicals where it needs to be absorbed, but then the rest of the body, you know, just kind of pushes it where it needs to be, and then you let, you know, the rest of the body isn't as damaged. And they've got lots of really good research on a lot of stuff like that. So the hypnotherapy is when it's more subconscious, when you can't figure out why. Like if you don't know why you're terrified of clowns and you can't eat at Bojangles, you know, I mean, it's things like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like I had one client, he was terrified of vegetables. And 13 years old, terrified of vegetables, wouldn't eat them. Was literally just couldn't get him up, nothing. Come to find out what had happened, long and short, one of the first times his parents went out on date night, whatever, family member was left to watch the child and turned their back. It wasn't, you know, anybody's fault. It was just a thing that happened, but turned their back to do something, get something off the counter, and turn back around, and the child was like in the process of choking on a green bean. Well, you know, that was, but they just overreacted about it. Oh my goodness. You almost died because of that green bean. Oh, the vegetables almost killed you. And that brought on that trauma. And through hypnotherapy, he didn't realize that had happened.
Wow.
And his mother was even like, I didn't even know that had happened. And you know, so it's things like that just have no rhyme nor reason. And those are the ones when we get to hypnotherapy. Now, of course, you can always do it to quit smoking, lose weight. I've seen people claim that you can do it for just about everything. Read faster, study harder, focus. It does work with ADHD for focus. It works somewhat with epilepsy. Yeah.
I need you to do me when it's time for me to take my boards. I need you to hypnotize me to take my boards. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's very easy. You can hypnotize people for their legal bars. So when they, you know, when they're taking the bar exam, all that kind of stuff, because it's that with your anxiety, you delete the anxiety and then just that pure knowledge comes through. You can't not study for it and then say, oh, I'm going to go get hypnotized so I can be a pharmacist next week.
That's what I was
saying. If you don't know anything about it, it's not going to work. But
I think it was this famous hypnotist. I don't know if it was Erik Erikson or someone. He had a daughter-in-law who had to study for a test, and he hypnotized her. She didn't even remember taking the test. And a couple of weeks later, her test came in the mail and she passed. And she was like, I don't even remember being at the test.
Okay. I think that was Erikson. That was because he does
Milton Erickson something.
Yeah. He was the one that does it through conversation. Mm-hmm. So he can actually put you into trance through a conversation and never. Yeah, I talked about him last week, and you never know that you're in trance because they said it's really, you know, not practical. Yeah, not practical to carry around a pocket watch and go, you're getting sleepy. You know,
look into my eyes. You are feeling sleepy.
And his way of inducing a trance was actually safe for people actually doing things. Like there had been people that were cooking and things like that, you know, using knives and stuff. And he was able to have a conversation with them. He did it through storytelling. It's quite fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah, I read that he had like polio when he was little and he'd like train his brain to overcome it. So yeah, he was a deep dude. And I think because he was here in Michigan, he studied like for Wayne State, but it was over somewhere in Westland. And then after he got his license, he moved like to Arizona somewhere. And people would go for his treatments, and he'll have him outside pulling his weeds or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was fascinating. He would sit and talk to him while they did things. because it kept their mind off the focus. He was really the first one to realize that when we drive somewhere and we get there and we go, I don't even remember driving home from work, when it's just a repetitive thing, that's really actually a state of trance. So when people say, oh, you can't put me into trance, have you ever driven somewhere and then gotten home and went, I don't even remember the drive? You were in trance.
Wow, that's quite often. That is quite often. All right, there. I see April. I was trying to see, and about her yoni steam in the program. I know she said this time she's trying to get things together, and she's also in a state of recalibrating and realigning her program so it can be. But of course, if you need any of her famous yoni steam, she's always going to be able to give you that. In the meantime, but what's happening? I'll try to.
No, I think that's perfect. That was great.
Okay.
Everything she said.
Yes. That was straight channeling too. No, straight. Yes. All right, there, people. So get us on out of here. Let's go, Kathy D.
Well, make sure that you clean up or empty the socks, empty the sand out of your shoes and socks. Clean up your virtual juice boxes from around the sandbox, and wishing you your best life ever. See you real soon.
All righty, then. April, where?
Stay blessed, stay golden, and remember, you were made for this golden life.
All right, then, Steph.
Yes, get to know yourself, enjoy the journey, and take care of yourself. Do self-care. Yeah.
All right, yeah, I like that. And as always, stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay ascending. Namaste and Namago. All right, next time on the Playground Experience / Clubhouse, we will see you next time. All right, then.
Aloha.